Hi there, it's Cheryl, and I have a lot of things I want to show you in this card. So look at that background. We're going to do that background. And then you see that seaweed? Is that not cool? I'm going to show you how I did that seaweed too. And we'll be coloring in our little images here. And this is a 5x7 card, so we're going to need a piece of cardstock that's scored and it's cut at 10x7 and then scored and folded at 5 inches. I have a piece here of it's 5x7, and this is Express It paper, and it's Express It blending stock or blending card. So Express It. And if you use markers a lot, then maybe you have this paper already or you've heard of it. This is very important. You have to have this paper to do that background that I'm going to show you. You cannot substitute. I have a whole pile of alcohol markers over here. And then I have a whole bunch more here. I have some acetate. We'll be using that to make our seaweed. Let's see, the only ink pad I'm going to use is the Memento Tuxedo Black. This is a very good ink to use with your alcohol markers. And you notice I have this sitting in this little piece of plastic here. That will protect my surface, even though I do have a silicone mat down on my table. This will also make it easier for me to move this aside, because this is like a 3 or 4 step technique to do this background. I'm using a Seaside Notions stamp set, and then the Sailing Home bundle, but I'm going to be using some of the dies from that for the card, as well as, let's see, yeah, let me bring this over. It's a little thing I made for myself to hold my dies on. Yeah, we're going to be using this and this from the Seaside bundle. And then the other dies we'll be using are the rectangle stitched framelit dies. That's from Stampin Up. And we're using the largest one. Then we're going to skip 2 and use the next one. Then we're going to skip another one and use that one. And that's going to give us a nice dimension on the front of our card. So let me put this back out of the way here. So, did you see what that says on here? It says, "I believe God would not have made me so creative if He wanted me to clean the house every day." I thought that was so cute. And then I just put it in an inexpensive frame. And it's got a magnetic sheet underneath. And I just put my dies on there to keep them corralled, and so they don't wander off on me. We're going to need the Copic Various Ink. This is the Zero Colorless Blender. I got this on Amazon. This is not the same as isopropyl alcohol. You cannot use isopropyl alcohol. Then I have just a little bowl here, and I have a eyedropper because I'm going to be putting some of this, the Colorless Blender, on my paper here to get that cool effect in the background. We'll have glues. I have my Tombow glue, and then I have my Art Glitter Designer Dries clear glue. We'll be using both of those, I do believe, on this card. We're going to add some little bubbles at the end with the Nuvo glitter drops, and this is Aquatic Mist. But you could use a different color if you wanted to. I thought this was pretty, so that's what I'm using. I have my my Stamparatus here, and I'll use that to stamp my images. I have the Seahorse, and then there's the two shells, a sand dollar and coral. We'll be stamping that. On this card I stamped Thinking of You, but on the other card, and this is from the Seaside Notions. On the other card I have one already stamped and cut out here, and it's a happy birthday. So those are both in the Seaside Notions, and then the die we used to cut that out, that is in the Sailing Home bundle. So let's see, what else do I have here? I have a pair of tweezers. It's going to be very important. Something to hold our little pieces of plastic here, and then off on the side here I have my heat tool. I'll be using that also. So let's start on that background paper. Wait till you see how we do this. This is so much fun, and it's pretty much foolproof. So I have my paper here, my expressive paper, and I have just an assortment of different color blues and greens here. Okay, so I wanted mine to go, I wanted it shaded kind of dark to light. So you just take your markers, and it doesn't have to be Stampin' Blends. I use Stampin' Blends because, well, I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator. You could use Copics, you could use Spectrum Noirs, Studio 71s, any one of the inexpensive brands of alcohol markers that are out there. You can use any of those, but it has to be alcohol markers. It can't just be regular markers. And you see what I'm doing here? I'm just putting scribbles down here. So this is one of the darker colors, so I'm keeping that more down towards the bottom here. Put some green in here. I'm just putting a couple little dots of the darker colors towards the top. I'm just filling this all in here. And you want to get that pretty close to the edge there. Okay, now we're starting to get into the lighter colors. I'll put some of these down here too. This is the light Night of Navy that I'm using right here. And that color is really cool because it does some fun things. Oh, wrong side. That was the bullet nib. I want the paint nib here. Back to the Night of Navy does some fun things when you add this colorless blender to it. See, I'm just putting a whole bunch of this color down, just scribbling it. This part here, I mean, really, how could you go wrong? Just scribbling. Okay, we're almost done this part. And I think I want a little bit more of that's the dark sea spray. I want to put a little bit of that up here. Okay, get those out of here. Now I'm going to turn this over, and you see it's come through a little bit on the back side, but what we're going to do is take our Colorless Blender. I'll put a little bit, oh, I forgot. When you get your Colorless Blender, it has this little interior cap. Well, I kept my little interior cap, and I put it back in when I'm done with it. That way it helps to keep this from evaporating. It is a type of alcohol. I believe is ethanol. I don't know. But I didn't feel that this little cap would be good enough to keep it from evaporating. So I kept this and I put it back in. Okay, so we're just going to start putting drops of this. We're going to leave a little space in between them here, because we're going to come back. We're going to be doing this a couple times during the course of this video. So, I feel like I should be talking. Oh, I know what I can tell you about. It's almost time for the Stampin' Up! Holiday catalog to come out. Or, I don't know when I'm going to post this video, so it may be even time right now. But it goes live on September 4th, I believe. Pretty sure it's September 4th. And I'm going to, I'll put the PDF up on my Facebook page and my blog for that, for the catalog. That'll give you a little bit of a head start on everybody else that has to wait for their catalog to get to them. Okay, so you can already see, it's starting to work here. Now we're going to put that aside. I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to let this dry, and we'll be coming back and doing this again. Like I said, 2 or 3 more times, depending on how I feel about it. Or how you feel about it. You might want to do it more or less. But don't try to speed this up with your heat gun. Okay? This has to do its little magic trick all on its own. You gotta just let that do its thing here. Okay, so let's stamp the images that are going to go on the front. So again, I'm using the Tuxedo Black Memento ink. Ink these up real good. And stamp them. There are other inks out there that that can be used with Memento, or with the alcohol markers. I don't remember what they are offhand. I've had Memento ink for years and years, and so since I have it, that's what I use. Haven't tried anything else. By the way, this background technique, this is something I learned in some coloring classes that I've been taking. A woman named Amy Schulke, I think I'm pronouncing that right, does these classes. She's just wonderful. If you want to up your coloring game, she does a combination of alcohol markers, Copic markers, and the Prismacolor pencils. And she's just a wonderful teacher. It's not just you. This is how you do it. Do it how I say. She tells you why she's doing things, and so that you can go on and do your own images. You don't have to just color what she has shown you to color. So that background I got on that. You know what? I'll put I think I have a picture of the project I did with her. It's a hydrangea project. I'll put a picture of that up on my blog. Yeah, but it's Vanilla Arts Company. They're in the middle of right now of a transition to a new website, and so when that's available, I'll put that up too. She's very good, highly recommend her. This other thing that the background here, how we have it all cut out in different levels and things, I got that from a woman named Alina. Oh, what's her last name? Kazars. But she then she's in that group. She's in the group that are doing the classes with Amy Schulke, and she has started her own YouTube channel, and she takes the images that are colored in and she does things with those and makes cards from them. So if you're a colorist, if you like to color in coloring books and things like that, and you have all these beautiful pages that you've colored in, and then what do you do with them? Well, she gives ideas, and like I said, she's just started. She has only two videos up. I'll put her information also on my blog. But she used this, the cutting and popping up of the background with one of her projects that she colored, and it really came out nice. So she's another person that's someone to watch. So that's where I got the ideas for this card. It's like a combination of like two different people's ideas. I wish I would have come up with these on my own, but I did not. So I've got these stamped, and after I'm done, I did all that talking. Now these are probably dry now. It's always a good idea, no matter what inks you use, give it a few minutes to dry. And let me, you know what? Let me bring my thing. Let me zoom in more. Let's see if I can do this without making everybody sick. Make you dizzy. Okay, there we go. Alright. So, here are all the markers I used on here, and I'll tell you what these are as I go. Let's do this shell here in the middle, because that's the only one that's different from the others. And I used blue and gray on these. Then I used the light Seaside spray, and then I used the light and the light smoky slate. That's not a gray one. That's just that's a crumb cake. So I just used these two markers for this, and I went with the gray, and I just did some shading with the gray on this shell, like so. Let me bring it up so you can see it. See how I did the shading? Just a little bit. coloring them in, totally. And then I went back with the blue and and striped in the, put some blue striping in on these. And that's basically it. Pretty simple. Just those two markers for this. Okay, let's do the Seahorse next. Okay, so I used the dark crumb cake, the light crumb cake, and then I used, let's see, dark petal pink and light pumpkin. Okay, so I'll start out with the crumb cake, and just anywhere I think there might be some shadow on him. And down here. See, I'm not being real exact with this. It's supposed to be kind of fun and watercolory looking. Okay, now I'm going to use the light crumb cake, and I'm just going to go over wherever I went with that, and I'll add a little bit there too. I'm just going to go over that area, just wherever I put that dark crumb cake. Now I'm going to come in with my light pumpkin and get some of this orangey color in on this guy. And again, I'm just going to follow that striping where I went with the two crumb cakes. Add some of that to his fin there. And then I'll take the light, no, this is the dark petal pink, and just fill in any of the white spaces with that. And then we'll just let it sit and blend on its own, and it will. Okay, so now let's do this shell right here. And I'm going to be using the dark Calypso Coral. Am I using dark Calypso Coral on this? Yes, I am. And these two that we were using, the light pumpkin and the dark petal pink. Okay. So I'm going to use the light pumpkin, and any place I think there's a shadow, that's what I'm going to use, where I'm going to use this. And then I'm going to go over that with the dark petal pink. And I know it says it's pink. It's not. It's orange. I don't know where they get the idea that this is a pink color, because it is not. And then I'll use the Calypso Coral and add in some banding on there. And you notice I'm just going very lightly. I don't want a whole lot of this color. Okay, so there's that shell done. Let's do the sand dollar next. Well, we'll do the sand dollar, and we'll do this one. I'll do the let's see, this is the light pumpkin. I'm just going to go, Well, darn, I don't know where this stopped. I started coloring and I guess I ran out of time on my camera. So I'm hoping I got the Seahorse done. So I'll tell you the colors I used on them. Okay, so for the shell I used light smoky slate and I used light seaside spray. For the Seahorse I used dark crumb cake, that went in the shadows, light crumb cake, that went over top of that, and then light pumpkin pie over that, and then any place there was a little bit of white showing, I used the dark petal pink. Okay, on the coral I base coated that with light pumpkin pie. I added my shadows with dark calypso coral. So to the left and to the bottom I added, on all these little pieces here, I added light calypso coral. And then, just to jazz it up a bit, I used the dark flirty flamingo. Now on that image are all these little dots. So anywhere I saw those little dots, I added some dark flirty flamingo to that. On our sand dollar, okay, the sand dollar, on a sand dollar, if you've never seen one before, these are openings. This little flower shape thing in the middle, and these kind of rectangle shapes. Those are openings in the sand dollar. And sand dollars are usually pretty white once they've been dried. So I used just around that flower, I used the dark petal pink, and then just right in the center bits here, just a little touch of light pumpkin pie. Okay, so I have to cut these out. I'm going to cut out my seaweed also from my acetate, and I've already have my little sentiment here for the front of the card. That's already cut and it's stamped and cut. And I stamp it first, and then I cut it out with the die, and that way I can line it up so that it's just perfect in here, because I can cut a lot better than I can stamp. So let's bring this back in, because now this has dried. We're going to do this all over again. So I'll put some more of my Colorless Blender in my little bowl here. And you might notice there's some kind of pinkish purple colors in here. Yeah, I didn't use any pink or purple. Nope, I didn't go back and sneak some purple in there on you. That's from the Night of Navy. It kind of breaks apart and gives us a purple color in the blue. Interesting, huh? And now I want to make sure that I get drips on like these darker spots. Then I'll just go back and fill in where I've got a darker spot here. And I found a way to get things random is to just do it fast. If you're doing it fast, you don't have time to line everything up like little soldiers. because I know I tend to do that. I think everybody does, don't they? But if you go fast, it doesn't give you time to do that. And you see it's working. It's already working where I did it. And we have to let that dry. Okay, so I've got that. That's number 2 time around. Okay, so I'm going to go cut my images that we colored and my acetate for my seaweed, and I'll be back. Okay, so I have all my little pieces cut out here. I'm going to do our drops on here another time. And get some of my Colorless Blender out here again. And just every place I see a little bit darker spot, I'm just dripping drops. Then I'll go back and fill in between. It's almost ready. I think this might be our last time. But if you do it 3 times and you're still not happy, do it again another time. See, I'm going pretty fast. That keeps everything nice and random. Now I'll go back and just go in between where I just did. You know, like I said, you have to use the Copic Colorless Blender. You have to use Express It. And you have to use alcohol markers. There's no... I give you options a lot of times. You could use this or this or this. But there's no getting around it on this. You have to use the Copic Colorless Blender, Express It paper, and alcohol markers. Okay? So I can set this aside for now, and we can color our seaweed in. Now, if your die cutting machine absolutely will not, no way, no how, cut acetate, then there's Stampin Up does have this year. They have vellum that's already colored, and one of them is a green color. I believe it's Old Olive, and you could use it for that. But I'll tell you, I run mine through 4 times. You might try shimming it with a piece of cardstock. Add a piece of cardstock to your sandwich there. That might help, but this just looks so cool. Now, let me get my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm using the dark Old Olive Stampin Blends marker. But again, any alcohol marker will work. And we're just going to color this in. And be careful when you get down the end here. You don't want to color your finger. Okay, there's the one. And if you notice, I flipped one of them over. This is flipped over. And there we go. Oh, there's a little piece that should have popped out when I die cut it. Make sure I get it all covered. I'll make sure it's all nice and green there. And now I'm going to bring in my heat tool. This thing is about 1,000,000 years old, and I don't even remember where I got it. But I'm going to pick up my little piece here, and I usually don't make you listen to me use the heat tool because it is noisy and annoying. But I want you to see how this works on here. So let me get that heat tool going. There, it's getting hot now. And I'm just going to heat this up. That will dry our inks. And you notice it's starting to get kind of bendy and curly a little bit. See that there? That's what we want. We want to start to kind of melt a little bit, I guess. And it takes a little time to do it. And I'm blowing all my little pieces of paper around here. Okay, can you see how this is going? How this is getting? Okay, so there we go. So now it's got a little bendiness to it. It's makes it nicer. And now do the other one. You know what? I'm not going to make you listen to this one. I'll turn off my camera and I'll finish that. Okay, I think our background is ready now. Doesn't that look like bubbles just floating around in the ocean? I like the way this is turned out. So now we're going to get it set up to cut. So I'm going to put the die on here, and I want an even amount on this side, this side, and this side. This is going to be bigger down here. I'm just going to line that up, eyeball that, and then I'm going to hold that in place with a bit of tape and put the next one on, and that will just get centered. Right there, that looks pretty good. If it's slightly off, you know what? This background makes it very forgiving. It distracts your eye from any mistake you might make cutting this out evenly. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to put another piece of tape over here just to make sure everything's done. This is painter's tape that I'm using. You could use washi tape or whatever, but I like the painter's tape. I had it left over from a project, and I just take it, and it's the low tack painter's tape, but I still take it, and before I start using it, I'll tap it on my clothing a couple times. It picks up lint and makes it just a little bit less sticky, and then I'll just use those pieces over and over again until they're just no good anymore. So okay, so I've got that all lined up. I'm going to take this and go cut this out. Okay, so now we're ready to start putting our card together. We've got all of our pieces all all over the place here. And one thing I did forget to mention is we're going to be using some foam, and this is a craft foam. This piece here is a very thin craft foam. This is a thicker piece here. If you don't have the thick, you only have thin, use two pieces, where I use, instead of using just the one where I use the thick piece. But if you don't want to use this, you can always use like the double. You can use like the foam tape that's double stick. There's a lot of different things you could use. You could use a whole bunch of those. Oh, what are they called? I've got a bunch of them. What are they? Adhesive. They're dimensionals. That's what they're called. So I've got all kinds of stuff. I do have some of the tapes. The tape, but you know what? I like using this just as well. So I'm going to cut myself some strips here. And if you need to, use a ruler and a pencil and trace your strips on their paper. I just kind of eyeball them, and let's see, that looks like it'll be fine. Maybe a little, this might be a little thick. Where'd my scissors get to? There they are. I'll trim that down a little bit. I don't want it to show around the edges. Okay. So let me take my dies out here. We're going to start with this, the biggest one. And that's our card base. And we're going to put strips on the back here. Oh, let me get that there. I'm just measuring. And I think I have a little piece here that's going to be just right from the top, and then I'll cut myself a piece down here for the bottom. So I'm going to use my Tombow glue for this. Come on, Tombow, out you go. There we go. Oop. And I'm putting this on the back side. The back side turned out quite pretty too. Look. Let me flip it over. Look, isn't that nice? So you may, check it out, you may want to use the back side of your paper, but I wanted all these crazy bubbles on mine. Oop. Da 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 da. Okay, now I need a piece for down the bottom here. Let's see. That looks about the right size. Let me see. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, this would take a lot of dimensionals to do. Okay. So now we can put it down on the card base. If you prefer tape, you could also just tape this, but I find that the glue holds up better over time. So we're just going to line that up. And our card front, I like to stand it up like this, give it a little taps and little pats, and that just seems to line it up nicely. Or it just makes me feel good. I'm not sure which. No, I think it lines it up nice. I was just joking. Okay, so now we put our next piece down. That's going to go right on the card base. That's not going to get popped up at all. Okay. Then our next piece gets popped up. So let me just cut myself some little strips. I have a piece here from before. And maybe one more of those. Okay. And Tombow. What did we do before? Oh, I didn't measure how big a piece I need here. Oh, how silly of me. And I have the glue on most of it. So busy chatting away about what we would do without Tombow. There we go. Let's see if I can do this one right. The case of do as I say, not as I do. Always measure your strips first. Cut your strips to size. Check them to make sure that they're going to be hiding back behind your little popped up whatever. And let's see. I really feel like I should be conveying some kind of important information while I'm doing this, but I just can't think of anything more to tell you. We're almost done with the card, you know. We haven't got much to do yet. The big thing that takes so much time is doing this background. That's going to take you a good hour to do. So this isn't one of those cards that you can just slap together at the last moment. Okay, so there we go. That piece is in place. And we just need this last one. I'm going to use the thick foam. If you don't have the thick foam, remember use 2 layers of the thinner foam. If you don't have any of this craft foam at all, you could use cereal boxes for that matter. I do that sometimes. It's a good way to be green and recycle. And almost done with this. Yeah, that back is very pretty. I was very tempted to use the back side, actually, but I just like the bubbly side better. Okay. Now, as you're putting these pieces on, you want to make sure you're putting them the same way that you cut them apart. Okay? That's why I had mine all laid out nice and neat here. So you see, it just continues on. The pattern just continues on, and that's kind of important for this effect. So let's see, what should we start with? I think we'll start with the seaweed. I'm going to put one little piece over here, And then I'm gonna put one piece over here. Okay, so see that they're flipped, they're opposite, you see. And I'm going to use my designer's Dries clear for this because it's nice and it dries clear. So I'm going to take that. I'm just going to, if you can tuck it underneath a little bit, that's even better. I'm going to hold that down for a few seconds. And I can put my glue on this one while I'm waiting. And we'll do the same thing on this side here. Now, if you want to, you could do that a little, give it a little bit of glue up here too to hold these pieces in place. I kind of like them loose and free. That might make it a little difficult if you're putting it in a card, though. So I'll glue some down just to give you the idea that you can do it. Okay. This side's tucked down in pretty good. I'll just leave that as it is. And this glue just takes a few seconds just to grab hold. Okay, so let's put our starfish. How about a seahorse on, and our sentiment. Okay, so I'll just use some of this glue on the back here. Now I'm not using the Tombow because Tombow will dry sticky, and if I don't have it stuck down to something, then it's going to remain sticky and things could get stuck on there, like lint or leaves or I don't know what all. Just anything. And I'm going to put the seahorse right here. I'm going to have him overlap the our little label here just a little bit. And now we can start building down the bottom here. And just put a little glue at the top and the bottom because that's the only place it's going to touch. Well, maybe I think I'll put a little bit here too and make that touch. And that's going to go just a little right of center here. Here we go. And I'm going to put this little blue-gray shell. I'm going to overlap the bottom of that coral so that coral has a little anchor to it. And then I have this shell. This shell's going to come over here. And I'll have that just like this, I think. But I'm going to pop this up a little bit. I'm going to use some of these scrap pieces. Let's see, will that fit on there? Oh, I see I'm running out of time again. I'm going to spend a lot of time just chatting away. So I'm down to about 10 minutes. So I better get moving. And there's just this piece left right here. Now, if you like this video, then please do hit that like button down below. It's down there. Let's see, I think it's over on this side. And because I do check that, and it's encouraging to see people like your video, and it gives me an idea of what people do like and what they don't like. So hit that button down there if you liked the video. If you'd like to see more of my videos, then hit the subscribe button. That's down on this side. And if you click on that, a little bell icon will come up, and if you click on the bell, then YouTube will tell you when I post new videos, which is nice. And as always, I'll have all of my materials listed down below. In the description, there's a little thing that says show more. Hit that, and it'll drop down and show you lots more stuff that I put on there. If there are any products that you'd like to purchase from Stampin' Up products only. I'm not a distributor or anything for anybody else. Then you could do that either through my Facebook page or my blog, and those are down below there too. The URL for both my Facebook page and my blog are down there too. So let's see, I think that's about it for today, and y'all take care, stay safe, and happy stamping. Uh-oh, I hope you didn't go away. We forgot to put the bubbles on. Well, not we. I forgot to put the bubbles on. Now, I have a whole little stream of bubbles coming up, and we're going to start out narrow here, and as they come up, we'll go wider. And we want those to be random. So I'm going to take my Nuvo glitter drops, and I'm going to just, let's see, off on the side here, I'm just going to make sure that it's not going to spit. We don't want it to spit. So, and the best way to do this is just hold your bottle straight up and down, okay? It may look like I'm at an angle, I'm not sure, but you want to hold it straight up and down above the paper, and get a drop of that stuff coming out. You see how I'm getting a drop there? Get it going like that, and then just touch the drop to the paper, and you'll get the nicest round little drops you ever wanted to see. And now I'm going to go fast here because I want them random. Remember, I told you the trick to random is to go fast. And you can make them different sizes. Let's see. Maybe one there and there. And I think that's enough. Okay. Now these look a little cloudy right now, but I promise they will dry nice and clear and glittery, just like this. Now if you don't have these drops and you want a little sparkle like this, sequins would be nice on here too. So that's an alternate type thing you can use, but I like these Nuvo drops. I think they're so pretty. I just love them. So now I'm done. So bye bye, y'all. You take care.